Welcome to part 3 of making a pinch mug. I've taken out this wheel throwing mug to show you the kind of shape I was going for when I made this one. And you can see I've cut the lip down so it's fairly even. And now I would like to make it less, sharp and more even. So I'm going to take part of just a green scrubby that I use in the kitchen, and I'm going to just hold that down over the edge, over the lip, and I'm going to work on one little area at a time. And sometimes you have to get it wet again to make that more even. So I'm just going to work that area, and sometimes it takes just a little bit more work or less work, but I want to get that fairly even. Now, since I'm not trimming this foot, the foot's already been put on, all I need to do is fix that lip and make it fairly rounded so that it's not sharp or uncomfortable to drink out of. There. Now, the next thing I need to do, this is leather hard. You can see I can move clay on the surface, is that I need to slip and score for a handle. So I am going to make some score marks, and that is just going through the dry outer layer down to the wet clay underneath. And then I'm going to grab some slip just out of my little slop bucket here, some thicker stuff down where the handle's going to be attaching. And
can you use water for that?
I suppose you could. I like to make sure I don't trap air in between the two sections, and also this cup is on the verge of being a little bit dry, so you could use some water.
Some people may not have slip when they're working
Some
at
people
home.
just like, and you can use like water on the surface and kind of keep mixing it until it makes a little slip as well. All right, now I'm going to set that down, and I'm going to show you a few different handles. I'll start with the easiest and then work to a harder one. The first one I'd like to show you is going to involve just starting with a tapered coil. So I'm holding my hands in a V shape, or I can hold my hand down on the table and roll my hand at an angle to make kind of like a carrot shape. I will not need all of this. This is kind of a lot of clay, so I'm just going to trim off some of that extra clay that I won't need. I'll roll that just a little bit more. It's going to flatten. I'm going to make it just a little bit skinnier than I normally would, because when I flatten it down with the heel of my hand, I'm going to make that just a little wider. Now, I'm going to take my rib, a clean rib, and I'm going to first start by smoothing that, and then I'm going to hold this at an angle until they meet up, and there's an edge down the center. Now, I'm doing a couple things. I'm kind of getting the sides more even, and at the same time kind of creating this nice little line. If I'm going to attach this one on, I'm actually going to bevel the area here so that when I attach it on, it's going to create an arch. And then I would attach all of that on. I can either keep the seam or get rid of it. It just depends on what you like. It's kind of like clothing in that way. So I can connect that on, making sure it's straight, getting rid of the goop. And sometimes you just have to get your sponge out for some of that to clean that up. And then that would be my handle for the cup. Or another way is to, I'm going to pull that back off. Going to show how to pull a handle off of the cup. Now, you may need to practice the pulling of the handle separately, just practice that skill alone. But again, I'm going to start with like that carrot shape. I roll that in an angle and to about the width that I would like it to be, because it's going to get longer, but it's not really going to get wider. And then I'm going to, again, cut that at an angle and kind of have a little bit too much here. So I'm going to cut that. I want enough clay to really attach on, so I'm going to spread that out. And I have a little bit too much down here. I'm just going to flatten that a little bit. I'm going to attach this onto my cup directly, making sure that it's really well connected. The thing about the term pulling a handle, you know, it implies that you're really pulling hard, but really you're sliding the clay using gravity is really what you're doing, I think. Now, I'm going to bring over some water, and I'm going to just slide that clay. I'm using this part of my hand to pull that clay down. I'm going to turn it just a little bit. Looks like I'm milking a cow, I know. But then the cool part is when this comes down, it creates a really great handle all on its own. And I can make sure that's straight. I can cut away the extra clay. Connect that on. Get away the extra slip. And the last thing I like to do, I mean, that's a nice looking handle on its own, but I sometimes like to lift that up a little bit, because when you think about the shape of the hand, your bigger fingers are up here, smaller down here, and that mimics that shape pretty well. Like that. And I just try to make sure it's on straight. I have quite a few times put on a handle very quickly, didn't recheck it, and then found out after it was fired that the handle was on crooked. So I like to take a look at it from above and from all different views to see how it looks. And that would be my handle.